Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Losses Above Replacement, the greatest baseball podcast. Two grace years. I'm today's host, Mathias Altman Kursaki, and with me, as always, we have our own extension candidates, Alex Clark and Ryan Splashpots. Gentlemen, first things first, as we begin every show, how are we doing on this fine Monday afternoon?
Better than just being normal white Americans that we were talking about being. But no, I mean, we're doing all right over here. I finally got to see some of my first live sports of the year a couple days ago, where I went and saw a Seattle Thunderbirds game, hockey, and it was a fun time. It was good. To be fair, I've now gone to like 5 or 6 hockey games. I finally saw my first fist fight. I'm so happy. It was awesome. But
I know they
no,
don't hold back in hockey.
no, they don't. What I was honestly happy with is that the refs didn't intervene until one player was taken to the ground. And I'm like, this feels weird to be cheering on these people that are less than 18 years old, just beating the absolute crap out of each other. But you know what? It was fun to watch. And the eruption that they had for the fights was more than any of the other goals combined. So I guess that kind of shows where the fans are like.
Okay. That is an interesting one. I do think you undersold me here because
Mhm.
my idea was to like pitch it like when Shohei Ohtani tweeted about his new wife and said she's a normal Japanese woman. And then we would call ourselves normal American men. And that I thought that'd be pretty funny, but never mind. I've been better. I'm glad to get on the podcast and talk some ball though.
Yeah, first of all, shout out Shohei. That was a pretty funny post and interview about that. But yeah, I mean, I actually got to go outside and play catch the other day. It's I mean, it was 65 degrees yesterday. I gotta enjoy this spring-like weather before we inevitably get a snowstorm in the middle of April. So
Again.
yeah, but other than that, I think I'm doing all right. Just kind of chilling this week. So anyways, let's get into it. We had a couple of big newsworthy signings this week, and one was this morning actually. Zach Wheeler, a pending free agent, and probably maybe the top starting pitching target for this upcoming offseason, signed a 3-year extension with the Phillies for $126 million. No player option or anything in that. But that's an average annual salary of $42 million per year. That's the largest anyone's gotten in a contract extension before, and it will take him through his age 37 season. He's turning 34 this spring. So, fellas, give me your instant reaction here. It's a lot of money. It's a guy who's he was sort of a late bloomer, I guess. He's in his mid-30s now. What do you guys think of this contract?
I'm personally, I'm not a fan of it. And the main reason why is that he's a good pitcher, don't get me wrong, but you're paying him now till he's going to be well on the wrong side of 30. And that's kind of the big problem that I have with this, is that through his best years, you're going to be paying him. You've been paying him now about mid $20 million a year, which, he's been well deserving of. He's been a fantastic pitcher in baseball for the last several years now. And with him with Philadelphia, I think he's only going to get better for the next year or two, maybe. But we do have to agree that right now he is 34. That's a lot of the time where we start to really see the decline start to hit. And it's really going to come down to, do they think that Zach Wheeler is going to be able to keep up that level of production all the way up until 37? But the fact that you're going to be paying him $42 million a year for his ages 35, 36, and 37 years, I'm not sure if it's worth it. I have a feeling that this deal was mostly made just to keep him in Philadelphia. He's become so ingrained with the fans, so ingrained with the fan base. And right now, yeah, he is one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And you knew that he was going to get a nice little paycheck from any team that would try to sign him next offseason. But at the same time, I definitely have my doubts. We've seen players that have gotten big contracts that have gone off to underperform because they were at so late in the contract, but we've also seen a lot of players that play well into the later years of their contracts. I mean, Nelson Cruz is one of the names that comes to my mind immediately. So at that point, like it could really go either way, but I'm always going to be hesitant when you give a guy that is going into past 34, 35, $40 million a year.
So my first reaction was, wow, $42 million a year for Zach Wheeler, for any pitcher for that matter. It was similar reactions to when the Mets paid Verlander and Scherzer $43 million a year. But I feel like Wheeler is worth it. And less about the dollar amount and more about the extension in terms of years, because the Phillies are not strapped for cash or anything. They're not like the Padres or the Mariners or the Twins or these teams that are shedding payroll and whatnot. They're okay with like gaining payroll. This is a team that is interested in winning and interested in winning plural World Series, not just making it to the NLCS and making it to the World Series and like doing and beating the Braves. And yeah, Wheeler's been awesome with Philly since coming over. He leads the majors in WAR. He's among the leaders in strikeouts. He's top 5 in innings pitched, in ERA, in ERA plus, and FIP and WHIP. Tied for 7th in strikeouts, tied for 6th in wins, and that's just regular season stuff. He's received Cy Young votes 3 out of 4 seasons. He's posted a lot. He's made just about every start he can, and then he's made 10 playoff starts, and he has a 2.42 ERA for a team that went to the World Series. Now he kind of got blown up in that World Series, but went to the World Series in 22 and made it to Game 7 of the NLCS last year. He has the lowest WHIP in the history of the playoffs among players that have made 10 starts at 0.726. So the only way this contract goes bad or goes poorly is if Wheeler gets hurt. I don't have any performance questions with Wheeler. He's one of the top pitchers in the game. We're going to cover. I'm going to cover him in here in a few minutes. I don't know if you guys are, but I am. He's a stud. He's gotten better with age. He's gotten better despite going to one of the hitter friendly ballparks in baseball. He strikes guys out. He doesn't walk guys. His walk rate with the Phillies is below 2. His strikeout rate, at least the last few years, has been well above 9, although it was pretty low his first year. As a Philly, 1.9 walks per 9, 9.7 strikeouts per 9. And if you throw out the COVID season, it's been even closer to 10. So he's a stud. I think every team in baseball would love to have him as their ace.
It's the thing is that I'll be the first to admit that I was very wrong about his initial contract with the Phillies. I knew that he was like a solid, in my opinion, he was a mid-rotation guy with the Mets. Like I thought he was a solid pitcher, but I did not see him turning into the ace that he has become. I thought for sure Nola was going to be the number 1 guy in Philly. And back then, it was different. I feel like pitchers, they got paid, but they didn't get paid as much as they are getting now. That's the thing, is 42 million is a lot of money, yes, and he is going to be 37 by the time this contract ends. But you got to remember that this offseason, we saw guys who are like league average, maybe a little below league average, getting 14, 15, $16 million a year. So 42 million for a guy of Wheeler's caliber who, like Splash said, he's been getting better with age. He's a workhorse, but he's not just like the typical like junk balling workhorse that we were used to in the last decade. He throws hard, he gets strikeouts. And yeah, he makes like Splash said, he makes basically every start he can. The one time, he threw 213 in the 3rd innings in 2021, only 153 in 2022, but that was over 26 starts, so he averaged about 6 innings per start, and he averaged exactly 6 innings per start this year. It's hard for me to root for him because he's on the Phillies, but I feel like he's the one guy on the Phillies I always find myself rooting for. He's gotten Cy Young votes 3 of the last 4 years. He won a Gold Glove this year, if that means anything. He was runner-up in Cy Young voting in 2021. So, like Splash, we are getting into our top 5 starting pitchers later in the show, and I'll just spoil it now that yes, Wheeler is going to be in my top 5. You'll just have to find out where. He's a great pitcher, really. So that was the first signing we wanted to cover. The other one happened late, I believe it was Friday night. The Giants signed Matt Chapman, another one of the Boris 4 clients. They signed him to a 3-year deal worth $54 million with an opt-out after the first year. So he'll make $20 million this year. It's a front-loaded contract. Guys, Chapman, I feel like, is a fascinating player. Still a pretty good defender, not as elite as he once was, but his bat has always been the question. What do you guys make of this contract? What do you guys make of this trend now of these Scott Boras clients taking these short-term deals with opt-outs?
Personally, I mean, I enjoy the idea of it, but I also don't know how well this is going to go for baseball. I do think, though, that it's going to continue because we're seeing it now that we're such in the era of the prove it deal. And this is a deal, and this trend of deals that we're starting to see now is very much the idea of, okay, well, let's see if you're worth what people are trying to get you for. Let's see if you're actually worth that, and you're still going to be making a good ton of money doing it here, because like on this next year he's making what $16 million with $666,666 in signing bonus. Yep, all sixes. That's fun. But it's weird to think for this because the idea of it, I think, is very, I want to say, unique, because from it I was just bringing up the talk about the prove it deals, and this is a prove it deal with a safety net. This is definitely not what Boras was intending for when he took on these clients. He was intending to get a lot of these clients much bigger deals, multi-year deals that were going
Probably
to
9 figures.
Yeah, exactly. And now this is the second one we've seen, the second domino really to fall on the idea of having the 1 year opt out here, where at least what Chadwick makes it different than Bellinger's is that there's only one opt out on this. There's an opt out after the first year, but then there's also a player option for 2025 and 2026, and then a mutual option for 2027. So there's still ways to go with this. It's just curious about where it's going to be at, and I'm not sure how much I like it for baseball, because right now we're doing a lot of these deals that the players can just say, lol, nah, I'm going to go somewhere else. So why would you invest in a player that's just going to say, lol, nah, right? Like, that's what I worry about overall.
Yeah, I actually kind of like it with Chapman and Bellinger, and even with Snell. Montgomery less so. I think he's a touch more stable, but these are fundamentally flawed players. We didn't mention any of them in our top fives. The only one that got a passing mention was Cody Bellinger in center field, and that's a position that just lost Brandon Nimmo. And if Nimmo is there, I don't think any of us are mentioning Bellinger as like a legitimate top five candidate. And Blake Snell won the Cy Young, and he's not in my list. He wouldn't even be in my list if I extended it to like 15, right? So these are fundamentally flawed players who got pushed to the top of the market because Ohtani and Yamamoto and got signed so early, and Soto got traded so early. Like that happened in 2023. So we've had like 2 months to stew, and we've looked at, oh, Jordan Montgomery does this, and Blake Snell does that, and Matt Chapman does this. So I think this is a savvy move for the Giants. I like JD Davis. I know he has mixed reactions across the league. I like the production you get out of Wilmer Flores out of the corner spots. But I think you upgrade. This is going to make Marco Luciano's job easier at shortstop when he gets up there. And look, Chapman's been inconsistent with the bat, to say the least, but he's always been at least productive. His worst season, he had a 100 OPS plus his last year in Oakland, in 2021. Okay, great. He still hit 27 home runs that year. Per 162, he averages 29 home runs, 80 RBI, 790 OPS. That's a 117 OPS plus. He's going to get your doubles. He's going to hit home runs. Is he this great hitter? No, but he's a really good defensive player. I'm excited to see this race with Ke'Bryan Hayes, Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado, and co. For the National League third base Gold Glove, Ryan McMahon as well. Yeah, obviously you have your concerns. He used to be a 7 WAR player. He's at 7.9 WAR over the last 2 seasons total, but he's just a nice, 3 to 4 win player that the Giants can add. And the Giants are one of the teams that in recent years, they've needed a star. They had Buster Posey on the 107 win team, but outside of Posey, you haven't really had that star superstar level player. Logan Webb, we can talk about later today, but you haven't had that star position player really since Bonds. Posey is a little bit unique as a catcher. So Chapman, Soler, I think you have upside to have a star hitter, and I think Chapman has the upside to have a star, like the Nick Markakis kind of war season that he led the American League the 1 year in WAR, even though it's Nick Markakis. So I like the deals. Boris has had a couple of these pillow contracts, but reminder, he did have a $100 million deal for Young Ho Lee for the Giants, and he had a $125 million deal for Jose Altuve that just came out of the blue. So yeah, he's kind of got it in his licks in here with Chapman and Bellinger, but he's had other awesome contracts for him and Boris Co.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I think the last two guys remaining from the Boris Four are Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. Now I think Snell at this point is going to have to take a 1 year contract or a similar type of contract. It's tough when you look. Yes, he won the Cy Young. He also led the majors in walks. So there's an issue there. I think he'll probably end up getting a similar type deal. I think Montgomery, he's a workhorse. I think he might get a 4 year deal or something, 4 year, 5 year deal maybe. Chapman's weird because you look at his baseball savant page and he's 100th percentile in hard hit rate and 98th percentile in both average exit velocity and barrel percentage. And while he strikes out a lot, he's 94th percentile in chase rate. I think that kind of confuses me, honestly. So he hits the ball hard. He's plenty of power. I mean, he's participated in a home run derby before. Do I expect him to hit the way he did in Oakland those for 2018, 2019? Probably not, but I think he's a strong defensive third baseman. He's not as elite as he used to be, but he's a good third baseman. He's definitely an upgrade over JD Davis, with all due respect. And then, this the thing is, I think Davis probably becomes a trade candidate. He's not a superstar, but he's a solid hitter, I would say, DH type. And then I think the Giants have actually had a pretty solid offseason. I think it's sort of been under the radar, but they got Lee, they got Chapman, they got Soler. I think the Giants could surprise some people this year. I'm not saying they're going to win 107 games or anything, but they're solid. So I think this might happen again if Boris runs into a situation where his clients are unsigned entering spring training, then they're probably going to end up taking deals like this. So anyways, those were that was the big news this week with Wheeler and Chapman. Like I said earlier, we are continuing our positional rankings, so let's get into that. We're doing starting pitchers this week, top 5. I'll just say that I had an incredibly hard time trying to pick who my 5 were.
Same.
There are a number of candidates, so let's go ahead and dive right into this. Let's go to Splash first. Who's your number 5 starting pitcher?
All right. So I actually talked about this on the Twitter earlier today at LAR_baseball. And I have really tiers of pitchers. So I have tier 1 that I'll get into later today. I have tier 2 that I'm about to get into. And then tier 3, I listed off about 20 guys that I would be okay if you had anywhere from 8 to 30, right? So these are players that I'm not going to mention today. You can go check it out on YouTube or on Twitter. But my 8, 7, 6, my honorable mentions here: Pablo Lopez, Corbin Burns, Zach Gallen. They will not be mentioned here. They're awesome pitchers. I would not be surprised if Mac and/or Alex has them in the top 5. Totally get it. They're not in my top 5. Number 5 for me is Kevin Gausman. Former Brave, former Oriole, former Giant, former Red. He bounced around a lot. Shout out to Immaculate Grid. The last 3 seasons, he's posted. He's been dominant. He's been excellent, really. He's at an ERA right around 3 every year. He's had over 200 strikeouts every year. So a 3.10 ERA in the last 3 seasons. He's posted. The FIP is very low. He led the American League in FIP 2.38 in 2022. It's been 3 or lower each of the last 3 seasons. Doesn't allow many home runs. Strikes out a ton of guys. 11.5 batters per 9 last year. Doesn't walk many guys. He's been a top 10 Cy Young voting the last 3 years, including 3rd last year. And he's getting even better. We're going to have this conversation with Zach Wheeler, but Gausman's entering his age 33 season, and this might be the year he wins the Cy Young. And imagine if you told a a Braves fan that when he was bombing outings in 18 and 19, or a Reds fan or an Orioles fan, that this is the guy that's going to win a Cy Young, not anyone else on those rosters. But he's been excellent. A 132 ERA plus in the last 3 years. He's a guy that FIP really likes because he has a lot of strikeouts. He doesn't allow a lot of home runs. He doesn't walk many guys. So he's a tiny bit of a FIP merchant. So if you are a Fangraphs guy, you really like Gosman, but Gosman's awesome. He leads a really good staff that there's not really a second guy on the staff. They're more like 2A, 2B, 2C. But when you have Gosman at the top, and you have the big hound behind him, there you go.
Fair enough. So I'll go into my number 5 now, and I'm going full on brand for this one. I do not care what you say. I'm wearing the jersey of this man right now, and that is George Kirby. Now, I'm going to preface this with something really quick. I'm making this prediction as a prediction for what is going to happen in the 2024 season. From what I've seen from Kirby, every time that he has gone out, he has gotten better. You take a look at what happened in his first year, right? Didn't even get to play the full season, played a majority of it though. Pitched in 25 games here and had a really good ERA at 3.39, which for a rookie, really good. And he was really starting to show how good he was at limiting the walks, getting good strikeouts, being able to limit the long ball especially. And he was able to go fairly deep into games where in 25 games, all of them starts, he got 133 strikeouts too and pitched 130 innings. Like, I'll take that. That's solid. Then you look at what's going to happen in 2023, where you went from, okay, this guy's doing pretty good. Let's see how he's going to do. And he shocked everybody by being a dark horse Cy Young candidate here, finishing 8th in the Cy Young voting at that point in his second year, pitching in 31 games with a 3.35 ERA here and just under 200 innings pitched and 172 strikeouts, and also leading baseball, not just the league, leading baseball in both strikeouts to walk ratio and walks per 9. The dude pounds the zone more and more. He's pounding that zone like he's a boxer trying to win a fight. And I love it. I love watching him pitch. And what's even better about it, there's a lot of people that get in trouble for being in the zone too much. Blake Snell is not one of them. But there are people that get in trouble for pitching in zone too much because hitters know they can just go and swing. He has such good swing and miss stuff with 7 different pitches that he can beat you with at any given time. I don't know. As much as like it's really intriguing to like say, oh, he's the best pitcher in baseball, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to go that far yet. But looking at the progression, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that he's one of the best pitchers in baseball, or by the end of 2024, we could be looking at a guy that's going to be on the podium for Cy Young and potentially even could have multiple Mariners. I will say this, I only have one Mariner on my list. I didn't go too crazy. But at the same time, like, looking at what Kirby has done, normally a lot of times the third season is the most impressive for young guys because the rookie season, they don't know what to expect. The second season, they fall down because people know what they're doing. The third is when they learn how to adjust. Kirby did really good in his rookie season and then got better in the second season. And I've been watching like the spring training stuff. I've been watching some stuff through Pitching Ninja he's been working with. And all these new pitches he's been tinkering with, all the new things he's been working with, this dude could legitimately be one of the best arms of the business come 2024.
Yeah, so I'll say this, that Kirby was one of the many guys I considered for my top 5. He did not make my top 5, but there's a non-zero chance he is in my top 5 next year, and I am heavily considering him for the AL Cy Young next year. I'll say that much. He's a really good pitcher. He's young. I really like the way he pitches. I like that he doesn't walk guys. So, I mean, it's not outlandish to put him in your top 5, in my opinion. But my number 5 is actually the same as Splash. I have Kevin Gausman. Now, like you were saying, I mean, if you told me after he got cut by the Reds in 2019 that Kevin Gausman was going to be a top 5 pitcher in baseball, I would have laughed in your face, if I'm being honest. I I mean, I remember when he got the qualifying offer from the Giants after that COVID season. I was like, God, like, are you kidding me? Like Kevin Gossman got a qualifying offer. Like, what are we doing here? Obviously, he's going to accept that. And then he went and balled out in 2021, got that nice 5-year contract. But then again, I remember in 2021, he had like kind of a rocky second half. It's like, oh my God, is he gonna be worth that contract? Yes, he's been absolutely worth that contract. And to your point, Splash, Baseball Reference is not very high on Gosman when it comes to WAR. He only has 3.4 Baseball Reference WAR, while Fangraphs has him over 5. So uh, pick your poison there on how you want to value him. But I really like the fact that he keeps the ball in the yard. That was his biggest issue through the 2020 season. He constantly had a home run per 9 over 1. It was closer to like 1.2, 1.3 every year. It's been below 1 each of the last 3 years. He gets those strikeouts, led the American League. 237 strikeouts with no slouch. I think he's an ace now. And I think, once again, you will see him in the Cy Young conversation. Yes, similar to Wheeler, entering his mid-30s. I wonder, he's on a 5-year contract and he's entering year 3. I wonder if the Blue Jays consider extending him. It's tough to gauge with pitchers, especially as they enter their mid-30s, but he's a great pitcher. I really like watching him pitch. I saw him pitch in person in Toronto in 2022, and he's a great pitcher. Gets strikeouts, limits walks, keeps the ball in the yard. So he checks all the boxes. He's number 5. I say we go ahead and move on to number 4, and I'll go first here. I have a Seattle Mariner at number 4, and it's not George Kirby. It is Luis Castillo. Another guy, he actually got an extension late in the 2022 season. And it almost makes me wonder how much money he could have gotten if he hit free agency. But Castillo was great again. Feels like we've come to expect ace type stuff from him. 3.34 ERA, 219 strikeouts, and 197 innings. Another guy, he's just a workhorse. Feel like you can expect 6-7 innings out of him. 2 or 3 runs allowed. His fastball was elite this year again. He had he had one of the best by run value. He had one of the best fastballs in the game. I didn't mention this, but for Gausman it was plus 16. For Castillo it's plus 19. His home run rate went up this year. That's the one issue I had with him. It almost doubled actually. Went from 0.8 to 1.3. He allowed 28 homers after allowing 13. But overall, I mean, made 33 starts. He had his FIP was still 3.81. That's solid. 121 ERA plus, still 10 strikeouts per 9, which is right in line with his career mark. I think, you can expect him to be top 5 in the Cy Young voting again. He was top 5 this year. He was 5th. He's all around a complete pitcher. I love his off-speed stuff too. I think for him, it's going to be, because I think late in the year we saw him falter a little bit. I just want to see him complete the season a little more, but he's definitely one of the 2 or maybe 3 aces the Mariners have heading into the year. And I think they have arguably the best rotation in baseball. So I have Castillo at 4. Let's go to Alex next. Alex, who's your number 4?
Well, yeah, well, also, I think that Luis Castillo was a hard one for me to leave off my list. And honestly, it was purely because I think that Kirby is going to be outstanding this coming year, but Castillo does deserve to be on this list here. And I don't also think it's arguable. I do think the Mariners just have the best rotation in baseball right now. Anyway, on to my number 4. Here, my number 4 is one you guys were just talking about here. I went with one Kevin Gausman. And there's only really one thing I want to say about him, and that word is splitter. His splitter is one of the most devastating pitchers in the entirety of Major League Baseball. That splitter is what has gotten him to where he is at now. But it's so interesting watching his baseball reference page. All right, because you'll see that he started his career all the way back in 2013. And it wasn't until 2021 that he got any level of credential, any level of award to him, accolade, where he was an all-star that year. He was 6th in the Cy Young Award voting and even 21st in the MVP voting. Then 2022 was ninth in the Cy Young, and then 2023 was third in the Cy Young voting, as well as an All-Star. And I just find it really interesting to see that, again, we're talking about guys that are late bloomers here again when we were talking earlier about Wheeler. And now we're looking at another pitcher here that is this is like the definition of that. Here again, really coming into his stuff in 2021, but that splitter is still one of the most feared pitches. I remember in 2022, the playoff game between Toronto and Seattle, and the broadcast would not stop talking about his splitter, saying that that was the pitch that was going to be unhittable. And you know what? For a good portion, they were right. Like that splitter, watching hitters just swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss on it was incredible to watch.
I mean, yeah. So that's the thing is, I remember watching his splitter like on the big screen after every strikeout, the game I went to, and it was like, dude, how the heck does anyone make contact with that? Because it's honestly an insane pitch. It's like an off-brand version of the Ghost Fork, in my opinion. Splash, who do you have at number 4?
Going from a splitter to a sinker, I have Logan Webb at number 4. There's one player in baseball who's thrown at least 140 innings and had a 130 ERA plus each of the last 3 seasons. His name is Logan Webb. And the one year that he didn't qualify for the ERA title, well, he turned around and pitched 2 gems against the Dodgers in the playoffs. So he had 163 total innings that year. He gets a pass from me. He's awesome. He's a different kind of pitcher than the other guys in my list. That he's not the highest strikeout guy. You know, his career, he averages 8.3 strikeouts per 9. He's more of a limit walks and just pound the ball into the ground kind of guy. Last year, he led the National League in walks per 9. He led the majors in innings, led the National League in strikeouts to walks. Second in Cy Young voting, stole one of Blake Snell's 30 Cy Young votes. And he had a 62% ground ball rate, career high. But for his career, that's not out of the norm. He had 58% ground ball rate, 61% in 2021, 57% in 2022. He just simply does not allow you to lift the baseball. He's going to pound it into the ground. He's going to let Tyro Estrada and now Matt Chapman and company just vacuum up ground balls. And this is an awesome strategy for his career. 1.3 ground ball to fly ball ratio. Again, the strikeouts are just kind of around league average, 22.5% for his career. League average is 23%, so right around there. But he doesn't walk batters. He doesn't allow a lot of home runs. Everything's on the ground. And even if he gets hit hard sometimes, 46% hard hit rate last year, or average exit velocity of 90.3 miles per hour, most of that's on the ground. So you're just letting Chapman and Estrada and Luciano and whoever's platooning at first base that day, you're just letting them vacuum up ground balls for the most part. And if it does get through the infield, it's just a single. And then the next batter can ground into a double play. So Logan Webb's a dog. He's entering his age 27 season. I think he could be the best pitcher in the National League this season.
Yeah, Webb was another one of those guys who was like in that 6 to 10 range for me. I heavily considered putting him in my top 5. He was just off. You know, it's crazy to me is that Logan Webb hasn't made an all-star team yet. I think this year very well will be the year he makes his first one. I just think, you know, obviously I think the Giants are going to have a couple, you know, worthy guys, you know, like Camilo Doval, maybe a Chapman or maybe a Jung Ho Lee, but I think Webb deserves to make one. He kind of reminds me of Brandon Webb, the way he pitches. You know, a heavy sinker ball guy who is routinely in the conversation for the Cy Young. But anyways, let's move on to our number 3. Alex, why don't you get us going here? Who's your third ranked pitcher?
Yeah, so for my number 3 here is someone we've actually already been talking about. So that's one, Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler is my number 3, and I mean, it's really not hard to see why. He is an incredible arm right now, where for the last 4 years, the last 3 years, 4 years, he has been one of the most consistently dominant pitchers in baseball. Now, go back to 2020, right? Again, shorter season, but still, you know, mattered, right? 2.92 ERA over 71 innings here, 11 games all started. He was in the Cy Young voting. Okay, pretty good. How does he follow that up with? Well, he follows up with making his very first All-Star game, finishing as the runner-up in the Cy Young conversation and 19th in MVP conversation. And it's like, okay, this dude really knows how to ball out, but the only question that you're going to have with him is age. And right now, that was in his age 31 season. Age 32 season, people were like, oh, maybe he's not going to have it. Oh, hey, guess what? Even though he didn't get an All-Star appearance, even though he wasn't in the Cy Young voting, guess what? He still had a 2.82 ERA. That's very good. Very, very, very good. And from it, on top of it, right, he had 153 innings. Oh, one thing I do want to mention, 2021 also had 3 complete games and 2 shutouts for a league-leading 213 in the third innings pitched as well. So, workhorse. And then in 2023, after 2022, which was still a good season, though no accolades, he comes back winning his first ever Gold Glove and is in the top 6 for Cy Young with an ERA at, this is so weird to say for me, but one of the highest he's ever had here at a 3.61. Here, one of the highest he's ever had. In fact, actually taking a look at the numbers, right, it is the second highest he's ever had while still also starting 30 or more games. So I'm looking at this and I'm just like, man, this guy just continues to defy expectations and get better and better. I don't expect him to continue going through complete game shutouts and all of these, but you know what you can do? You can rely on him for at least 180 innings, it seems, as long, again, knock on wood, he doesn't get injured. And on top of it, he's also going to limit the runs. The ERA has been fantastic over the last few years. It's really, you're really hard pressed not to put him in the top 5 somewhere.
That's what I mean, is that he, like I was saying earlier, he's just a workhorse. You know, you can expect 6 or 7 innings out of him, but you can also expect 9 or 10 strikeouts out of him every time. You know, when I think, you know, I remember when the term workhorse was thrown around when I was growing up, you know, it'd be guys like Jamie Moyer and Mark Burley, you know, and Levon Hernandez, you know, guys who, yes, they would get you those 6 or 7 innings, but they weren't necessarily like, you know, they weren't necessarily blowing their pitches by you. You know, it was a lot of, you know, junk ball, maybe mid to high 80s fastball. This, you know, Wheeler's a guy who can sit mid to high 90s, and you know he'll rack up those strikeouts. And you know, I think we saw some of what he could do with the Mets. He was really good as a rookie in 2013. He was good especially good in the second half of the 2014 season. And then 2016, 2015, 2016, and 2017, he sort of lost due to injuries. 2015, 2016 due to Tommy John surgery. 2017, he had just a rash of injuries in the second half. 2018, I remember he was better than DeGrom in the second half. And that was the year Jacob DeGrom won the Cy Young the first time. He had like a 1.3 ERA in the second half of 2018. 2019, again, kind of a up and down first half, very good second half. And then he turned it into that nice 5-year contract. And there's a reason why he's getting this extension. I mean, every year it feels like he goes out there, he does exactly what the Phillies are asking of him. I remember a game I went to in 2021 where his line looked uglier because he got left in. He had allowed 4 runs in 8 innings, and he had a relatively low pitch count. And the Phillies bullpen at the time was just not doing very well. They were struggling a lot, and so Joe Girardi left him in for the 9th inning against the Rays. That was in the 100-win Rays team, by the way. And Francisco Mejia tagged him for a 3-run homer. Eventually, was the difference in the game. But the fact that Girardi left him in for the 9th inning just tells you how much the team trusted him, and they still trust him. So I think Wheeler, he's established himself for sure as a top 5 starting pitcher, definitely top 3 in my book. And really, I expect him to contend for the Cy Young again this year. I'm heavily considering him for the Cy Young this year in the National League. So, Splash, give us your number 3.
Three's Company. I also have Zach Wheeler as my number 3.
Wow.
That's a first.
Yeah.
I think that might be the first. We all have the same person at the same spot.
Well, no, we've had a
outside of
lot of
number
the same
one.
number. We've also had a lot of the same number.
Oh, we've had
ones
the same
before.
number one. Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
maybe one of the first times we've ever had all three of us on the same
Yeah.
on a not number one position.
Yeah, on a
There you
non-number
go.
one. Yeah.
Impressive.
So fun times. But yeah, like you guys have said, Wheeler's just a dog out there. He's a workhorse. He's gonna post every time out, every fifth day. He's not gonna walk a lot of guys. He strikes a ton of guys out. He actually leads all pitchers in WAR in the last 4 seasons, which it would have been one of my like first few guesses. I don't think it would have been my first guess. You could argue he was robbed of the Cy Young in 2021. I would have gone Burns, but that's neither here nor there. The only concern I do have one concern. The ERA plus has dropped every season. He's been a Philly. He was 154 in 2020, then 150, then 141, then 119 last year. But you can relax the concerns when you watch him pitch in the playoffs. And I can relax the concerns when he's throwing 190 innings. He's done that 3 times in the last 5 seasons. You throw one out because it was a COVID year. 195 the last year with the Mets, 213 in 2021, and 192 last year. And he pitches in the playoffs. Again, like I said in the earlier segment, has the lowest whip of any starter that has ever started 10 games in the playoffs. So lower than Bumgarner, lower than Koufax, lower than Mathewson, lower than Ian Anderson, who definitely hasn't made 10 playoff starts, but neither here nor there. He's a stud. He's my number 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. Like I was saying earlier, well, first of all, to Splash's point, I mean, he didn't make his first playoff start until 2022. And I mean, he looks like a seasoned veteran, I feel like, when he takes the mound in October. But his average fastball velocity has stayed around 95 each of the last 2 years. So like I was saying, he's more of the new school. He combines some of the old school with the new school, the high velocity, but also with the high volume of innings, which I think, he has all the qualities of an ace. And so we'll move over to number 2. And I'll go first here. I have a guy that I know Splash said did not make his top 5, but I have him at number 2. Maybe this is aggressive. He was, I mean, I just, he was another guy who he's going to be a big ticket free agent this offseason. I would not be surprised if his new team, the Baltimore Orioles, give him a handsome contract. I have Corbin Burns at number 2. Yes, I know Splash is giving me a shocked reaction here. Burns, I mean, yes, his ERA has gone up each of the last 3 years, but he led the National League in WHIP this past year. He, again, 193 and 2/3 innings after throwing 202 the year before. He struck out 200 batters again. Yes, his fly ball rate is a little concerning. He's allowed home runs each of the last 2 years. He wasn't going to do what he did in 2021 ever again. I feel like that was ridiculous. He allowed 7 homers in 167 innings, a 1.63 FIP that year. All right, maybe he won't do that, but what I do like is that he had a 3.39 ERA and a 3.38 expected ERA. So I don't think he necessarily overperformed last year. And I think that, pitching in a contract season, he's on the right side of 30. I think we can expect Corbin Burns to be in the Cy Young conversation in the American League this year, especially pitching in Camden Yards, which is a more pitcher-friendly ballpark now because they moved the fences back to left field. I think Corbin Burns is the second best pitcher in baseball. He's consistently been an ace the last 3 years, last 4 years if you include the 2020 season, and he's going to be leading that relatively young Baltimore staff. Yeah, Corbin Burns is my second best starting pitcher. Feel free to discuss there because I feel like I probably have a bit of a hot take there. But let's go to Alex here. Who's your second best starting pitcher?
All right, my number 2 is one that I traded for in fantasy last year, and he is an Atlanta Brave. It is Spencer Strider. Now, I like Spencer Strider. I really do. I think looks-wise, he's got the look of that pitcher that has... Honestly, to be fair, he looks like he belongs in a sitcom. And I mean that in the best possible way.
I can see that. Yep.
Yeah, no, he's got the big mustache, the great build to him, but he's a character. But the reason why he belongs to the sitcom is that he's a character that performs and does his job exceptionally well. Like, looking at what he did last year, we are impressed if a pitcher ever gets 200 strikeouts in a season. Like, that's a big number to get to. That's very, very good. Strider said, hold my beer, as he got 281 strikeouts last year. And then the year before that, he got 202 in what, 55 less 55 less innings. Like, this dude is so good. And like, I will say, I'm gonna bring up a couple problems I do have with him. I'm not the biggest fan of his walk rates. I'm not the biggest fan of his BABIP, and his ground ball rate. I think the ground ball rate needs to be a bit higher, personally, because right now Fangraphs has it projected at about 37%, which of the people that let's just say this, for example, the next closest one is not even in the top 30 here for ground ball rates here for Spencer Strider. He's still such a good pitcher, though. He has all the tools you need. He knows how to get outs. He knows how to make people whiff. He is that dang good. On top of it, like, the walk rate is a little bit of a problem, but when you strike out 280 people, who cares? The defense just kind of sleeps away for a little bit. His FIP last year also very good at 2.85. He was a Cy Young contender last year at getting fourth in the voting, was an all-star as well. And then even in 2022, he was second in Rookie of the Year. Forgot who won that. Anyway, regardless. I mean, what more do you really want to say? Strider is an electric pitcher. My only question is, like, now we're getting into that third full year, right? His first year was technically in 2021, where he pitched in 2 games, didn't start either of them. Now we're getting into that magical third year for him. What are we going to see from Strider? Normally, like I said earlier, the second year is where we see people start to struggle, and then the third year is where they prove it. This is a time where, again, he did great his full rookie season, did better the second year round. Sounds a lot like Kirby. Wonder why. But, like, I want to see more from him, but right now he is so dominant on the mound.
Surprise, surprise, Spencer Strider is my number 2 as well. He just evaporates batters. 37% of the batters he's faced as a major leaguer have gone back to the dugout with a strikeout. And yes, he allows fly balls. It was 32% last year. That is an absurd rate, and that's why his home run rate ticked up a little bit. Although it was still below major league average. I'll throw that out there. And I know there's some in Braves country and a lot of people in the NL East that say he allows too many homers. Last 2 seasons, he allows 0.8 home runs per 9. Max Fried allows 0.7 home runs per 9. And I don't think anyone has a Max Fried home run problem. The thing with Strider is he's probably going to continue to underperform his batted ball metrics because they're just that good. And there's so many like expected batting averages of 0 because he strikes out so many guys. 2 developments. Number 1, his slider went from very good, a 7-run value in 2022, to awesome, a 12-run value in 2023. It was his best pitch. He struck out 51% of batters with it. He just 55% whiff rate, which was crazy because he had a 52% whiff rate in 2022. And he's adding in a curveball. I don't think it will be much of a factor this season. I think it's really going to be fastball, slider, and he's the one guy in Major League Baseball that can get away with it as a starter, because the fastball is awesome and the slider's probably even better. But he's trying to add in a curveball. He has a weird mechanic, so he can't throw the changeup comfortably. He's not a pitch that he loves throwing, even if it is effective. Got +2 run value last season, 44% whiff rate. So to me, Strider is in tier 1 with the pitcher number 1 here, that any time out, he can be the best player on the planet. Any time out, he can strike out 16, he can strike out 14, allow no runs or 1 run. He can be awesome. The guys that I had 3 through 8, I think could win the Cy Young. I think could be the best pitcher for a month, the best pitcher for 2 months. But I think it's a little different when you see Strider on the lineup card, and your team might strike out 16 times that day. So Strider's awesome. He has an expected ERA at 309 last year, 3/4 of a run below where it actually was. The year before was a 239. He's a crazy low FIP. I'm impressed that he doesn't walk more guys. Because just watching him, it feels like he walks a lot of guys, but his walk rate was under 3/9 last year, which is great. He struck out over 13/9, fourth in the Cy Young, and he's a stud. And he's he just turned 25 in October. So I know the Mets kill him. I know the Phillies think they kill him. He actually was pretty good in the playoffs this year. 2.84 ERA across 12 innings against the Philadelphia Phillies. I'll throw that out there, but he's my number 2.
So Strider was another one of those bubble guys. In fact, he might be number 6 exactly for me. There are a couple things I want to see from him before I put him in my top 5. Is one, and I know this might sound old school of me here, but I want to see him throw at least 190 innings in the season. Like, the number one thing I'm looking for from him is volume. I feel like he has a lot of those outings. Yes, he strikes out, 10 to 12 guys, but he goes 5 innings or something, like that. I also want to see him in that same season get his ERA below 3.5. I know that's an old-fashioned number there, but he had a 3.86 ERA this year. I mean, I understand 280 strikeouts. I can't put a guy with a 3.8 ERA in my top 5. It's just, I understand he's great stuff, and I think he has all the potential in the world. He'll probably win a Cy Young in the future, maybe even this year, but he was right on the outside looking in. I see the case though for him to be a top 5 or top 2 pitcher in your guys' case. So let's move on to.
I do have one counter. I do have one like half counter. He had like an ERA of like 73 in the 7th inning, and a lot of that wasn't his fault. A lot of that was like the bullpen allows the guy from
inherited
first.
Runners,
it's like I can't tell you how many times he'd have a start of 6 2/3. He walks the last guy, and then Kirby Yates or some other bozo comes in and allows a 2-run homer, or not even a 2-run homer because that would inflate the reliever's ERA. Allows some shenanigans to let the runner score, and it counts against Strider, and then the reliever gets out of it scot-free. So I'll pull up the number itself, but in the 7th inning, Strider why can't I do in the 7th inning, Strider allowed an OPS of 923, which is like an MVP level hitter. But the 6th inning, 546, 5th inning, 536, 4th inning, 582, first 3 innings all below 750. So 7th through 9th innings, the OPS was over 900. I agree with you on the length. I just know that the ERA was pushing 6 after the 6th inning. Part of that's Strider's fault, of course. He's allowing guys to get on base. Part of it's not really his fault. It's the bullpen with the inflated ERA. So I would imagine it's closer to 3.5 if you just have average bullpen after he comes in.
Yeah, no, I think there's reason to expect Strider to have a big season this year, the big season the following year. I'm sure the Braves will give him some weird contract with 1% of it donated to the Atlanta Braves Foundation.
Oh, he's already been extended.
Right, he was. Wait, what? Oh, yeah, he was. That's right. It's Max Fried is headed towards free agency.
He's going to be a Dodger or Padre. Yeah, Strider's signed through 2028 with a 29 team option.
Yeah, so he is really good. He's on the outside looking in for me. But let's get to our number 1. Splash, why don't you kick us off here? Who is the best starting pitcher in baseball?
The best starting pitcher in baseball is Bryce Elder. I'm kidding. It's Garrett Cole. Hey, respect Bryce Elder. He did make the All-Star team last year.
Yes, he did.
Garrett Cole is awesome, man. He's like if Strider actually played to like what we think he is, what I think he is at least, it would be Garrett Cole. Just strikes out the world, doesn't walk anyone, has a little bit of a home run problem, especially last year. He was just allowing home runs left and right, 33 home runs. So to me, that's one thing that with Strider that, you look at the home run rate, it's really high. Well, I mean, Garrett Cole allowed 1.5 homers per 9 last year, but he's been in the top 10 in Cy Young voting every year he's been in the American League. 5th, 2nd, 4th, 2nd, 9th, 1st. Even the year he was 9th, he led the American League in strikeouts, and he had a crazy home run rate that was a little unsustainable in the opposite direction. He threw 200 innings in 2015. He threw 200 innings in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2022, and 2023. Led the American League with 209. Led the American League once again in ERA. Pitcher wins, we can wobble on those if they matter or not. He wins games. He's won double-digit games all 5 full seasons he's been in the American League. He led the league in wins in 2021. He has a really high winning percentage, career .659, which, reminder, half of his career was as a Pittsburgh Pirate. He's awesome. He is an ace in every sense of the word. Even if you watch one of his bad outings, quote unquote bad outings, it's 6 innings or 7 innings of 4-run ball. He always gives the Yankees a chance to win. And that's what one thing I respect so much about Cole is that he never throws a fit. He never, well, unless Daniel Vogelbach takes him deep. He never throws a fit. He never has like a 2-inning 7-run blow up start like Spencer Strider does, or like other guys on the list can have at times. He's always going to post. He's led the league in starts once again, 33 each the last 2 years. He's made 30 starts. He's made 300 career starts. He's made 30 starts now 7 different times, believe it or not. The last 6 full seasons, he's made 30 starts. He's just awesome, man. He's going to strike out 200 batters. He's going to be right around. His strikeout rate kind of dipped this year, but the walk rate was right around 2 once again. He led the majors in WHIP. He led the league in hits per 9. He led the league in ERA plus. He's just awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I say this even as watching him across town. I did see Cole pitch against the Rangers this year. And it was a game he allowed 3 runs in the first 2 innings, but he still, he kept the team in the game through 5 innings, and then the Yankees rallied and won the game. So, like you were saying, even when he doesn't have his best stuff, he's a competitor. Really, he still averages around 97 on his fastball. And I feel like ever since he came up with the Pirates, I've been waiting. When is Garrett Cole going to win the Cy Young? And he finally did this year. And he led. That's the thing is he not only led in ERA, he led in innings pitched. You know what you're going to get out of Garrett Cole every time he takes them out. And I feel like it's almost I don't know if it's fair to compare these two, but it's kind of like Bryce Harper in the way that the contract kind of created a target on his back. And so at first people were like, is Garrett Cole overrated and all that? But now you look at his career, he's a 6-time All-Star. He has that Cy Young Award. He's won 2 ERA titles. He doesn't have a ring, just like Harper. But for his career, he has career 3.17 ERA, 145 and 75 record, 41.2 baseball reference WAR. He has the makings of a Hall of Fame player. I think, he's entering his age 33 season. I think by the time he's done with the Yankees, he will have a Hall of Fame resume. So Garrett Cole is, I feel like we had this old debate of DeGrom versus Cole, and now Cole has cemented himself as the best pitcher in baseball. So Alex, I'm assuming you have someone else as your number 1, right?
Yeah, my number 1 here, I'm going to go with a Yankee here, and that is Luis Torrens. Luis Torrens,
right.
an amazing pitcher
now.
Yeah, an amazing pitcher hitter. Again, best 2-way player in baseball. Some guy who married
respect
a normal
Isaiah
Japanese.
Kiner-Falefa.
No,
Isaiah Kiner-Falefa,
no,
Nick Swisher.
Yeah. Anyway, no, yeah. I have Cole. I mean, come on. Looking at what he's done here, he is a strikeout ace. He is a machine on the mound. He has pitched, to give you kind of an idea, right? Let's go back all the way through 2018, actually 2017. Let's have fun with this. All the way from 2017 until now, there has been a grand total of 2 seasons that he did not pitch 200 innings. Those 2 were the 2020 season, of which, if you pitched 200 innings, that means you basically pitched every single game and went the distance basically every single game, which even then I'm not sure if that's... No, that would still be possible, I guess, but incredibly
you'd
unlikely.
have to make half of your starts and pitch like 7 a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one was in 2021, where he still started 30 games and got 2 complete games, and he was shy of 200 inning mark by 18 and 2/3 innings. That's not that much. On top of it, every year since 2018, he has gotten some kind of accolade. 2018, he was an All-Star and in the Cy Young voting. 2019, an All-Star, Cy Young voting, MVP voting. 2020 was in the Cy Young voting. 2021, All-Star, Cy Young voting, MVP voting. 2022, All-Star, Cy Young voting. 2023, All-Star, MVP voting, and winner of the Cy Young Award. Like, this guy is the model of consistency. The only knock on him that I can really find was back in, what was it, like 2020 or 2021, where there was the whole spider tack thing that was going on. And he was heavily linked to it. And then the spin rate went down right after that. People wondered whether or not he was actually going to be good anymore. Well, guess what? He's very, very good. He is one of the best pitchers. And I'm going to give a quick shout out here to a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, Leo from Brazil, because way back in 2013, he told me, like, hey, keep an eye on this Garrett Cole guy. I think he's going to be special. And I picked him up in my fantasy, and, he did well for me in that year. That was his rookie year. We are now 10 years later talking about the best pitcher in all of baseball. So you know what? Like, kudos to him, but there's no one. Like, no one else is number one.
Yeah, Cole, because as you guys know, my oldest brother went to school in Pittsburgh, so the Pirates were sort of like adopted as like the other team my family followed, I feel like, when I was younger. And so we kept up with the Pirates a lot, and Cole was easily my favorite pitching prospect in baseball. I just kept waiting for that breakout. It happened in 2015, but then 2016, 2017, he's kind of up and down. He sort of started becoming a workhorse in 2017, but he didn't really break out, I feel like, until he got to Houston. Truly, that is, became a strikeout pitcher. And, like I was saying, it's like Bryce Harper, where, people keep doubting him because of the contract and because of the sticky stuff situation, but he's proven he doesn't need the spider tack or any of that to be a good pitcher. So Garrett Cole is across the board number one. We actually had two spots, two out of five. That is a 40% rate. We had the same player, all three of us. So I think that might be the first time we had at least 40% agreement on that. But anyways, let us know. Yeah, let us know on Twitter at LAR_baseball. Did you like our list? Do you dislike our list? Do you agree, disagree? Do you think we're dumb? Let us know. Maybe give us your own rankings. But anyways, it is time for trivia, everyone's favorite segment. Today, I am hosting trivia, and I'm bringing back an old segment. I'm bringing back Who Did He Play For? But this is All Pitchers edition. So I have 11 pitchers with teams, and you have to tell me whether or not they played for that specific team. So anyways, how we're going to decide who goes first is pick a number between 0 and 20. One of you.
11.
Alex,
Both of
I'm
you,
forcing you to go first.
Wait, no.
11.
You said 11, Splash.
10. Yeah, that.
The answer was 15.
Darn.
So,
Eat that, then, Splash.
So, Alex, do you want to go first, or do you want to defer?
I will defer to the second half.
All right, Splash, you're going first.
All right. Can I onside kick?
No, you're not.
Darn.
Your first player is Pedro Martinez.
Okay.
He played for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Ooh. Yes, he pitched in the World Series for them, and Yankees fans got to chant the "Who's Your Daddy?" So yes,
Yeah.
Pedro Martinez played for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yes, he pitched 2 games of that World Series, and I believe got the loss in both of them, including the deciding Game 6. So you are off to a good start. Alex, your player is Tim Lincecum. Did he play for the Texas Rangers?
Ooh. I know that he... I'm going to say no, he didn't, because I know that there was a bunch of teams he was going with. I think it was the Angels, though, that he went for. So I'm going to say no.
You are correct. I'll say this. He was in spring training with the Rangers. He did not make the roster. The Angels were the last team he appeared in the majors with. Unfortunately, that did not go very well, but yes.
Sadly.
You are correct. So you guys are off to an even start. Splash, back to you. Your player is David Price. Did he play for the Detroit Tigers?
The Price is Right. Yes, he did play for the Detroit. I think that's who shipped him off to Toronto, if memory serves.
That is correct. David Price played cumulatively about a year. He was part of that rotation that eventually had 4 Cy Young Award winners.
Yeah.
So, yes, David
Dominant.
Price did play for the Detroit Tigers. So, Splash, keeping pace here. Alex, your player is R.A. Dickey, one of my favorite pitchers. Did he play for your Seattle Mariners?
2008 legend R.A. Dickey. Yes, he did.
Yes, that was actually the first time I heard of him was when he was on the Mariners. That same week that Felix Hernandez hit the grand slam, Aria Dickey threw like 7 shutout innings at
Yep.
Shea Stadium. So that was the first time I heard his name. And turns out, yeah, he ended up being a pretty good pitcher. So
MLB Power Plus 2008 legend. So
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. He would have been in that game. Let's back to Splash. So you guys are even through the first 4 players. Splash, your player is Greg Maddux. Did he play for the San Diego Padres?
MLB Power Pros legend Greg Maddux did in fact play for the San Diego Padres. He had
Yes, he was on the
control. I think he had the highest control of starting pitchers.
That would make sense because he's Greg Maddux. Yes, 2008 he played on the Padres, managed by Bruce Bochy. So let's go back to Alex here. This is we're going a little further back in time here. Vida Blue is your player.
okay.
Did he play for the New York Yankees?
Oh, I'm gonna say no, he did not.
You're correct. He did not. He was
Let's
there
go.
was supposed he was supposed to get traded to the Yankees. The commissioner vetoed the deal, so he never played for the
He
Yankees.
vetoed the deal. He vetoed it.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that a Chuck
so,
Finley move?
I don't think so.
Oh,
Actually,
so
it may have been.
They've had a lot of weird ownership thing. Also,
Actually, yeah,
the A's won more rings in Philly than the Phillies have. I'm just going to throw that out there.
yeah.
This is fair.
They won like 5 there, right?
Yeah, they have 5 of them.
They were really good in Philly, by the way.
And then
I
really
believe that's
bad in
more rings
Kansas
than
City.
this. I believe that's more than the Sixers have in Philly or the Eagles.
Yes.
Like, yeah, they're the most successful Philadelphia sports franchise, if you wouldn't believe it. If we're going by that measurement. But anyways,
Yep.
back to you, Splash. Wow, you guys are batting 1,000 so far. Your player is Nolan Ryan.
Mhm.
Did he play for the Los Angeles Dodgers?
Nolan Ryan played for the Angels, not play for the Dodgers.
Correct. He did not play for the Dodgers. The only National League teams he played for were the Mets and the Astros. So,
Still bat
Alex,
1,000.
Yeah, you guys are on fire right now. Let's go back to Alex. We have another. I feel like he was a mid to late 2000s guy. Kevin Millwood is your guy. Who
Okay.
eventually ended up on your Mariners, but did
He
he
did.
play for the Boston Red Sox?
No, he did not.
You're correct. He did not play for the Red Sox.
Yeah, I remember like the main thing that he was with before the Seattle was Texas and I believe
Texas.
a few others. I want to say also Baltimore.
He did play for Baltimore. He also was, I think he was best known with Atlanta. He had his best years with the Braves. He won the ERA title with Cleveland. Yeah, he threw a no-hitter with the Phillies. So wow, you guys are doing really well on this so far.
It's basically just gonna be who gets it wrrong first loses.
Yeah, well, there are 3 players left. And next up, Splash, one of the guys that I mentioned briefly in my top 5 rankings, Jamie Moyer. Did he play for the Baltimore Orioles? Journeyman.
I believe Jamie Moyer did pitch for the Orioles.
Yes,
briefly.
He did for three seasons.
Wow.
So I thought that was going to be the toughest one. So kudos to you guys. You guys are really knocking this out of the park. I don't think the pitchers.
That's a bad thing for their
though.
pitchers, though.
Yeah, that's
there
the
we
thing.
go.
Anyways, back to you, Alex. Your player is Daisuke Matsuzaka.
Ooh.
Did he pitch for the New York Mets?
Oh, Daisuke, MLB Power Pros 2007 cover boy. Did he pitch for the Mets? Yes, he did.
That's correct. 2013, 2014. He pitched for the Mets before heading back to Japan to finish
I'm
his
gonna
career.
I think
stuff.
I remember the conversation we had about that. Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was like 2 days ago we were talking about that.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
why I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. I was
Is
at
this
a game.
collusion?
Dice started.
Collusion?
By the
I'm
way,
kidding.
for
I'm
anyone
kidding.
that obviously you can't see the screen here, but I'm holding up a little quill lava thing because we are on fire at the moment.
Yeah.
Yes. So you guys are even through 10 players. So this one is going to be the tiebreaker. And if you both get this right, I do have one more tiebreaker.
Okay, so is it like a
So
buzz in or
no, you guys are going to both DM me on Zoom in the Zoom chat.
okay?
Your answer for this. So your last player is
Sure.
Dontrell Willis. The
The
team
train.
is the San Francisco Giants. Did he pitch for the San Francisco Giants?
I don't know, Jim.
I don't know.
I love Tony Romo.
I don't know about that one, Chief. All right, I got my answer in.
I have submitted my answer.
All right. Well, I have a winner here. Dontrell Willis did not play for the Giants.
Dang it!
So Splash, you win again. Alex,
GG's.
valiant effort today, but yeah, he played.
was good.
So
GG's.
D-Train played for the Marlins. He was actually originally drafted by the Cubs, got traded to the Marlins in 2002, again got traded to the Tigers in 2007. From the Tigers, he went to the D-backs. He was signed by the Giants in 2010, but did not play for the team.
Could have gotten a ring.
Exactly. That's the thing. He did not make the big league roster. He bounced around to a few different organizations. His last stop was in 2011 with the Reds. He went 1-6 in 13 starts. I only knew the Reds part because I used him on today's crossover.
Nice.
Yeah,
There you
the
go.
category was managed by Dusty Baker. Just so you guys know, the sudden death, the sudden death question would have been how many teams did Edwin Jackson play for?
14.
All of
Yeah,
them.
exactly. Wow, Splash. Extra credit.
He was
I
born
guess,
in
there.
Germany as well.
Yes, he was born in Germany, so extra credit. But anyways, congratulations, Splash, on your win again. Like I said, you guys both did
GG's.
very well today. You guys were batting 1,000 through the first five players each, so kudos to you guys. But anyways,
Yeah, good job,
we're going to
Slash.
end the show the way we end every show, which is with the moment to ourselves, 60 seconds or so to talk about whatever's on your mind, baseball or not, sports or not. So who here wants to go first? Alex, here we go. Let me just get my timer real quick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so for me, I want to talk about the splitter, a pitch. And the reason why is because I love that we're seeing kind of a renaissance of it. Like, we had a number of years where no one threw a splitter. Like, it was a very niche, only like Japanese thing that we'd see. And now we're starting to see it a lot more in Major League Baseball. And I absolutely love it. It is a pitch that that is so devastating when done correctly that it becomes near unhittable. I mean, we know from playing Wii baseball even that the splitter was actually unhittable unless you threw it up to the where that it could be actually put in play. It is such a dominant pitch, and the fact that we're now seeing it have this true renaissance is awesome. Guys that are like Kevin Gauss we were talking about earlier. Kirby has been learning a splitter. Another Mariner that I'm really hyped for this year in Bryce Miller has been learning a splitter. Kodai Senga's splitter, the Ghost Fork, is one of the few named pitches in all of baseball. There are so many, and I love seeing that it is becoming this big of a re-phenomenon.
Yeah, I'm gonna strongly agree there because that's one of my favorite pitches to throw. I love, I love pitchers that throw a good splitter. And to your point, we baseball, it was impossible to hit a splitter.
Hey, last year, year of the sweeper. This year, it's the year of the splitter. Also,
it
Herschel
might be
Waldo
the year of
threw
the splitter.
He's going to be unbelievable. So,
Yeah, I
bye-bye,
saw that. Anyway, Splash, do you want to go next or should I go
sure,
next?
sure.
All right. Your time starts in 3, 2, 1.
Baseball is almost here. Nationals, I'm talking to you. James Wood needs to be on the opening day roster. That's it. That's the pitch. He's been unbelievable in spring. He hits the ball as hard as anyone. And if you looked at James Wade, you don't think he's like this ridiculous athlete. He is an absurd athlete. He is uber fast. He steals bases. He hits for power. He hits nukes. Put him in your outfield with Lane Thomas, with Stone Garrett, with Jesse Winker occasionally as a pinch hitter because apparently he's clutch. And watch the fun rolling. You have CJ Abrams in the infield. You have a lot of young guys coming up, Dylan Bruce and co. Mackenzie Gore on the mound, Josiah Gray on the mound. James Wood should be on the opening day roster.
Yeah, I feel like every clip I see of that guy, he's doing something insane.
Yeah.
That, by the way, he was one of the centerpieces of the Juan Soto trade. So I would definitely make use of him because he's going to be a beast in the majors. But anyways, it is now my time. I'll start in 3, 2, 1. I want to talk about another impressive rookie, and that's Wyatt Langford from the Texas Rangers. I think we were discussing this before the DH episode because he's listed on the depth chart for Texas as a DH, and honestly, I wasn't sure if he was going to break camp, but after seeing what he's been doing, seeing him first, he dominated at University of Florida. Then he goes to, he gets drafted by the Rangers, and he obliterates all the competition he has up to AAA already. I think he's going to break camp this year, and I think he should break camp. And I think if I were a betting man, I would put money on Wyatt Langford winning AL Rookie of the Year. I think the Rangers have two impressive corner outfielders in Langford and Evan Carter, who are going to be problems for the American League West for years to come. And the fact that the Rangers were able to win the World Series the same year they picked like 4th overall. First of all, I can't believe the Tigers let Langford slide. And second of all, I can't believe the Rangers were able to get Langford, and he's going to be bolstering an already scary lineup. And the Rangers, there's a reason they're going to be competing again for that top spot in the AL. So I hope he makes the American League the Rangers roster. We'll probably see him in the All-Star game if he does, and watch out for him in the Rookie of the Year race this year. So anyways, that is our moment to ourselves, and that will do it for our show today. Thank you all for listening. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, like I said earlier, at LAR_baseball, and then follow each of us. Follow Alex at the Sports Guy 242. Follow Splash at Mr. Splashman19, and follow myself at Mathias_A_K. You can also find us on Instagram now, also at LAR_baseball. Splash got that up and running. He's also been killing it on the YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, like all our videos, get our viewership up. I know we have been building a solid following there, so make sure to subscribe. Also sure to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you were listening. But for all of us at Lost Above Replacement, thank you all for listening. Stay safe, and I hope to see you all real soon.